The moment I saw the pregnancy test tucked behind a stack of financial reports, my breath caught so sharply it felt like the office air had vanished. And before my mind could catch up, I felt the weight of a presence behind me, a silence so heavy it pressed against my spine, and when I turned, the CEO's eyes were fixed on me with a look that froze the room and my thoughts at the same time. That was the second my ordinary workday ended and the slow unraveling of my fate began. If you believe stories about kindness, second chances, and unexpected grace, take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel, because this story may touch a place in your heart you didn't know was still open. I had been working at the company's Chicago headquarters for almost 3 years, living a quiet, disciplined life built on deadlines, coffee-stained mornings, and the constant pressure to prove myself. I was a junior operations analyst, invisible by design, the kind of employee who stayed late, spoke little, and hoped hard work would one day be enough to matter. The CEO, Margaret Whitmore, was a name spoken with reverence and fear throughout the building, a woman who had built an empire from nothing after losing her husband young, someone admired for her strength but rumored to be merciless. That afternoon, I had been asked to retrieve archived expense files from her private office, a request so rare my hands trembled when I stepped inside. The room was immaculate, orderly to the point of sterility, yet human touches lingered in the corners. Framed photos of mountain landscapes, a small wooden cross on a shelf, a reminder that even powerful people carried unseen faith. While sorting through a drawer, I noticed the edge of a white box partially hidden beneath folders, something that didn't belong among contracts and spreadsheets. Curiosity betrayed me, and before reason intervened, I recognized it instantly. The shock of it hit harder because it felt impossible. In that second, I became aware of Margaret standing nearby, her posture rigid, her expression unreadable, and the warmth I had imagined powerful leaders possessed vanished completely. Fear flooded me, not because I had seen something personal, but because I sensed this discovery was bound to change everything. From that day forward, the office felt different, as if the walls themselves were listening, waiting. The days that followed were thick with tension. Margaret began calling me into her office more frequently, assigning tasks that stretched far beyond my role, scrutinizing my work with an intensity that made sleep impossible. Rumors whispered through the halls, colleagues avoiding eye contact, sensing something had shifted. I wondered daily if I would be fired, if my career would collapse under a misunderstanding I never meant to create. Yet beneath the fear, something else stirred, a quiet empathy. I saw how Margaret's shoulders seemed heavier, how her once confident stride slowed, how she lingered alone in meetings long after others had left. She was carrying something enormous, and it wasn't just a company. One evening, as a storm lashed against the city's skyline, I stayed late to finish a report she needed urgently. The building emptied, lights dimmed, and when she passed my desk, her eyes softened for the first time since that day. I realized then that her coldness wasn't cruelty, it was armor. Over the following weeks, fragments of her story surfaced without words. A widow who had buried herself in work to survive grief. A woman who had sacrificed relationships for success. A leader now facing a miracle she hadn't planned for, and a fear she couldn't afford to show. I felt torn between my own anxiety and a growing compassion that felt almost sacred. The turning point came during a company retreat in Colorado, where the mountain air stripped away pretense and exhaustion forced honesty. Margaret collapsed during a presentation, the strain finally overwhelming her. In the chaos that followed, I found myself by her side, steadying her, reminding her to breathe, offering support without expectation. In that fragile moment, something unspoken passed between us. An understanding that vulnerability didn't diminish strength, it revealed it. From then on, her treatment of me changed. The pressure eased, replaced by trust, and I was given responsibilities that allowed me to grow instead of shrink. As months passed, the truth became quietly known among the executive circle, handled with discretion and respect. Margaret chose transparency over fear, sharing her journey with the board and the company on her own terms. What followed surprised everyone. Instead of scandal, there was support. Instead of judgment, there was admiration. She implemented new family-friendly policies, mentorship programs, and leadership workshops centered on empathy, reshaping the company culture in ways no profit report ever could. Watching her transform was like witnessing spring after a long winter, and I realized how close we all come to losing ourselves when we believe we must be invincible. My own life changed too. I was promoted, not because of what I had seen, but because of what I had become through patience, integrity, and compassion. I learned that sometimes the most important moments aren't the ones we plan, but the ones that test our hearts. Margaret eventually shared her story publicly, standing on a stage with a quiet strength that moved thousands, reminding them that faith and courage often arrive disguised as fear. When her child was born, the office celebrated not just a new life, but a rebirth of humanity within corporate walls. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can exist even in the coldest places, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach those who are struggling. And before this story ends, I invite you to comment below with a single word that represents what you felt while listening, whether it's hope, faith, love, or courage. In the end, I learned that seeing something unexpected doesn't always mean disaster. Sometimes it's an invitation to witness grace unfolding in real time, to stand quietly at the edge of another person's miracle, and to let it change you forever.